Now let's take a look on academic creativity. What is academic creativity? What does it mean be creative in academia? First of all, we should stress that the creativity in education also could be understood as a policy. Just because the education is considered as pivoting point in growth of creativity or ideology, be creative. Yeah? The idea that you can improve your education skills, you can improve your skills constantly during your life, this idea of the long life learning is of course one of such driver of this idea of be creative during all the life, of the idea of development of functions of the self-expressions, which are of course creative functions inside the society. So the idea that education right now, it's not the education which you obtain at the beginning of your, we'll say, working life, but it's something which you should constantly improve, which you could constantly rebuild, reconstruct, etc., etc. And of course, from this point of view, education, and especially the industrialized education, becomes very important point in the policy, and especially in the policy of the employment. Yeah, the policy of employment, because if the state give you idea that you can improve constantly your education skills, the state will say incite you to change constantly your profile, your working profile, your possibility to work, reorient you to another workplaces, etc., etc. So, of course, from this point of view, such phenomena as e-learning, mass open online courses development, blended learning, or the idea of so-called open curriculum in the universities becomes very important trends of such immersion of the education field in general into creativity, into this creativity policy, creativity development policy. Of course, once we speak about academic work, once we speak about the academic contract inside the academia, we can also speak about particular form of creativity. What is the basic model of the academic work? Is the model based on the three main activities: research activity, which means the creation of the new knowledge in scientific field. Second is the education, which means the transfer of this newly created knowledge to the another, we'll say, generations, and especially in order to form a new kind of skills. And of course, at the same time, academia should perform constantly the self-administrating function, just because in academia main creative professionals are working by themselves, but you just should coordinate them, and such coordinators historically has been a professor, so the people from the academic field, inside the academic field, which obtain it, we'll say, for a separate term of time, a separate period of time, we'll say administrating functions, functions of coordinating the research or coordinating the education curricula in order to, we'll say, organize this work together to provide some kind of statistics bottom up, to, we'll say, improve some qualities, to, we'll say, recruit the better professors inside the academia, etc. So, and here we have to back to this idea of different forms of creativity, especially cultural creativity, scientific creativity, and economic creativity, yeah? Which has been pointed out in week 6 of our course. So Well, back to it. Cultural creativity involves imagination and the capacity to generate original ideas and novel ways of interpreting the world. So the key factor here is cultural creativity is oriented toward interpretation of the world expressed in text, sound, image, and other forms of cultural creativity. Second is a scientific creativity, which involves the curiosity and willingness to experiment and make new connections in problem solving. So research is based on the problem solving idea. And economic creativity, which means a dynamic process leading toward innovation in technology, business practices, marketing, etc. And all these three types of creativity could be found inside the academic world. Because cultural creativity means that academicians should interpret, using also theoretical concept, should interpret the world, the reality. From another hand, they also should explore this reality in order to find a new way to solve the socially important problems. And finally, among such problems, we can see a lot of economic problems. And from this point of view, some of such academia members will solve such economic problems by proposing theoretical concept, by proposing new ways of management, new business practices, etc., etc., because university is working not only for the self-reproduction of knowledge, but also for implementation of such knowledge into the practice. And from this point of view, economic creativity also should be very important. So it means that inside university you have constantly these teaching, research and innovation circuits during different times of development of the university, different periods, different forms of creativity has had different, we'll say, different importance. But of course, these three main, we'll say, types of creativity has been constantly present inside it. As I have already said, different forms of creativity, economic creativity, cultural creativity, obtain different importance during different stages of the development of the university. So, if we will take the scholastic university, the university which existed before 15th, 16th century, we'll say, because starting from this period, the scholastic university started to be disintegrated, and then from the beginning of 19th century and of 18th century, we have dealt with the rise of the new model of the so-called Humboldt University. So, scholastic university has been based on the idea that the knowledge is valuable by itself or for itself, and not because it could be used somehow. So it means that scholastic university is based on the idea that scholastic university, it's not designed to prepare the people for particular practically oriented skills. It's the university which has been oriented toward constant interpretation of the world, constant reinterpretation of canonic texts, for example, of Bibles, for example, or other religious, especially books, etc. So, which means that finally, in this university, there were another form of creativity which has been much more important. Humboldt University, it's another model. In Humboldt University, science and research are considered as a basic process within the university, and in this university should contribute to the system of division of labor between academicians and practitioners. And from this point of view, Humboldt University start to be more oriented toward not only purely theoretical skills, but also to we'll say, practical skills, because science also could be divided on the so-called theoretical fundamental science and applied science. And this applied science also could exist inside such form of the university. And at the second half of the 20th century, we can see the rise of the new model of the university, and probably until now this new model of the university hasn't been implemented until the end. So it means that new model of this university, it's not completely, we'll say, installed everywhere. It's so-called entrepreneurial university. University is considered as a commercial enterprise, generating innovations, spin-offs for business, for society, etc. And from this point of view, university becomes very, very practically oriented, and science inside such university becomes subordinated to the, we'll say, practically oriented, very pragmatic objectives of this university. Of course, inside these three stages of the university, different forms of creativity has been developed differently. As I said, in Scholastic University, the model of Scholastic University is the master coming into the room and reading and interpreting a book. Canonic book, for example, the Bible, if we speak about theology, or the law book. So it means that Scholastic University has been based on the idea of this cultural creativity. The idea that you are creating new forms, you are constantly creating symbolic forms of interpretation of reality. And a lot of the Middle Ages texts, which we know right now, it's the text which has been generated inside the university realm as such form of cultural creativity. Inside Humboldt University, as we can see, the scientific creativity becomes much more important, and of course economic creativity also started to be important, just because economic creativity could be considered as a part or as a result of scientific creativity. And then we can see how in the second half of the 20th century, with the orientation of the university to spin-offs, to the innovation, to entrepreneurship, etc., we have dealt with the, we'll say, pragmatization of science and the rise of the economic creativity. But until now, scientific creativity and economic creativity inside the university are very developed. But where is the cultural creativity? Where can we find in the actual world this form of the creativity? Of course, we can find it in a lot of projects which are not considered as the main jobs of academics, but a lot of academics like very much to do this job. It's the creativity based on the popularization of science, such as popular science books, video lectures, public lectures, and such different forms which are not considered as the purely academic, purely scientific job. Purely scientific job is to go to the academic conference and to present a paper on it. But the public lecture, where you are presenting the basic ideas, basic scientific results for the, we'll say, wider audience, is not considered as the main jobs of academics. Another, for example, forms of such cultural creativity now, it's the participation of the university professors in public discussions, in mass media debates, in mediatization, in media sphere, in public sphere, etc. Third is the so-called different kind of museum-based projects, some arts-related sciences, which are very close to this model, when some professors are coming to the museums, to the exhibitions, etc., and are explaining or projecting together with the people from museum field how to make better the culture or cultural heritage accessible to people. So, as I already said, this activity is not considered as a core activity of the faculty of the academicians, but we can see how universities are starting right now to be very present in this form of activity by even hiring a potentially well managers, well in terms of communication managers, in order to improve their visibility in the public sphere, in the public, among the public. Yeah. So, and from this point of view, the cultural, we can see a kind of renaissance of cultural creativity right now in the university. Of the applied scholastic university is that knowledge is valuable by itself. It should be self. Doctrine of the scholastic university is that knowledge is valuable by itself. It shouldn't be applicable. You are generating the knowledge by, we'll say, using your ideas, by using your imagination, your creation, etc. You don't need constantly to make this knowledge work for economy, work for administration, etc. So, and here we can do a reference to Thomas Aquinas, who has been the first who proposed this division on artes liberalis and artes mechanicae. So, artes liberalis, it's the, we'll say, free, what we call the liberal arts. Liberal arts means that we have deal with the skills which every well-educated person should have. A well-educated person should have a set of different skills which can be used everywhere, more or less. Art et Mechanicae shouldn't be included into the university course, into the university curricula, because it's a different kind of what we call the practically oriented skills, and such skills during this time could be, well, say, obtained not during the university education, but obtained during the direct instruction inside the, we'll say, particular guilds where new workers, new people are penetrating. So it means if you would like to be a specialist in field of making tables, you are just coming into guilds of people making tables, and then inside this guild you will obtain some instructions how to do that, which finally will be finalized by the obtaining the practical skills how to produce this stuff. So it means that finally the scholastic university and the idea of this scholastic university is based on this of this division between the real knowledge, the knowledge which is valuable by itself because it's developing our understanding of the world, and another form of practically oriented knowledge which should be excluded from the university. At this period also we should stress that during this period university has been a kind of community. University was a community of students united around particular masters. And then when the number of such students was growing and when the number of such master was growing, they started to conclude a kind of contracts, a kind of, we'll say, charters between the university members and the students, between the masters and the students. So first universities, such as Sorbonne, for example, in Paris, were free societies of students and masters regulated by charters. So charter is regulating the relationship between the students and the masters. So from this point of view, university has been considered as the centers for education of elite members of the national states, elite members which should be able to read, to speak, to write, to prepare some documents, to be able to interpret the biblical texts, to be able to know some laws, etc. And of course, the faculties of such university was very different. First of all, there was a triad of the main activities of the main faculty. First of all, it was the theological faculty, which was much more important just because universities functioned initially inside the religious corporation, inside the religious realm. Second, was the faculty of law, and then faculties of medicine, just because you should, if you would like to improve your society, to improve your nation, to improve your state, you should constantly perform the law of healthcare for medicine. You should improve some kind of rules inside this society, it's the law. And finally, a kind of spiritual thinking of people which are coming from theology. And then, basing of these three main faculties, there were so-called 7 artes liberalis, so 7 liberal arts inside this model, which has been developed a little bit later, but inside the Scholastic University, so-called trivium and quadrivium. Trivium was based on the 3 main disciplines: grammar, rhetorics, logics. So, trivium was necessary for people who would like to produce and to express publicly their ideas. To do so, you need to know well the grammar, to know well rhetorics, to have ability to publicly express your opinions, and the logics in order to construct such opinions. And then the so-called quadrivium. Quadrivium based on the 4 main disciplines such as arithmetics, geometry, astronomy, harmony, or the music, if we will try to interpret this discipline. Of course, starting from 15th century, 15th, 16th century, we can see the disintegration, the progressive disintegration of such forms of the university, just because we can see the constantly enlarging set of discipline beyond borders of artes liberalis. So we can see the rise of mathematics, we can see a rise of geometrics as the basis of different physical things in the world, as the basics, for example, of the astronomy, of geography, of other fields of science. So we can see the rise of empirical research coming from Bacon idea. So we can see the, of course, the enlargement of this university beyond the borders of the, we'll say, religious, spiritual way of life. And we can see the disintegration of this scholasticism inside the academia. And this disintegration also has been related with the appearance of the first schools. So a kind of particular education institutions to prepare the people for the practically oriented disciplines, such as royal schools of artillery, royal marine schools, etc., in different countries. Of course, this has been a very important process of disintegration of this scholastic university. As I have already pointed out, the scholastic era has been marked by the cultural creativity. University served as interpreter of the reality, which was understood through relationship with the God. So the theological university produced a lot of religious texts, not only for its own use, but also and especially for use of the wider community, especially of the community of religious outside the university. And main forms of the university course was based on religious genres, and especially the form we know right now, the form of lecture, which are coming from the scholastic university to the research university. a form of lecture, it's the form of sermon, so one of the ritual of the religious genre, from which has been penetrated from the religious realm to the university. Let's take a look on creativity in Humboldt University, in Research University. So the basic idea which we should keep in mind to understand the idea of the Research University is the distinction between studying and learning. Learning, it means obtaining a kind of existing knowledge from someone. This is a learning. Studying, it's to creating jointly with a professor or with some other university staff a new knowledge. So the idea of Humboldt University is to study, So, and we have deal with a new form of the university where the learning, when the master shared his talented ideas with the students, has been replaced by studying, where the professors created together with students a new knowledge. So, and here we can see this basic differentiation between school and the university, between the elementary school and then the middle school, etc., and the university. This distinction is coming from here. And of course, here we can see an appearance of the new form of study inside the Humboldt Academia. It's the seminar, or especially research seminar. Seminar which is oriented toward creation of this new knowledge, enriching theories, enriching experiences, enriching empirical basis, etc., etc. So, creation of knowledge is the natural or basic process within this university. So, from this point of view, the scientific creativity becomes much more important than cultural creativity. So, if in the model of the scholastic university we have deal with a canonic doctrine, and university is just reinterpreting this doctrine and then making public this idea, so it was the university based entirely on the cultural creativity. The new university, the Humboldt University, is the university which takes the existing doctrines, interpret them, and create new doctrines or new theories, sharing them with the public. So this is an absolutely other model of the university, and of course other model of the academia. And more or less majority or big number of the university right now are more or less based on this idea of the Humboldt University, which is just starting to be disintegrated with the ideas of entrepreneurship, with the ideas of project-based universities, ideas of innovations, etc. But a lot of universities in the world until now, especially all universities, are based on this Humboldt model of the university. So the driver of this academic university is the leadership, especially scientific leadership. So leadership is considered as the main, pivoting point of the university. Individual leadership of the scientific and teaching leader in a particular field. So people who has been a chair of the school or chair of the department, chair of the faculty, chair of the owner, has been a leader in a particular field, in the field of this chair. So, of course, he has been considered as a leader, as a best figure in this particular discipline. And of course, seminar becomes much more important than a lecture, especially personalized seminar. Seminar becomes personalized. Seminar, it's not something which is provided by few different people. Seminar is very personal. It's provided by one leader because it's the research seminar. Because only this leader can can incite students to create new knowledge during this seminar. So it becomes the main form of the development of the scientific creativity within this new model of the university. Now let's take a look on a process which we can observe during last 50 years inside the academia, inside universities, and the appearance of the new forms of the university. So it's the form which we can call University of Innovation or Entrepreneurial University, etc. Or, for example, some other people prefer to use the idea of University of Excellence as a multi-stakeholder corporation oriented toward global excellence in different fields. Innovation, business, etc. So university is considered as a creation of startups, spin-offs, new innovative business in order to be globally competitive. So it means that the basic idea of the university as developing national culture, and especially the creativity also inside this culture, is replaced by the idea of the university as global competition-oriented, semi-commercial company, which should create new businesses, new startups, new spin-offs, new research which will improve the economy, which will improve the solving of the social problems, etc., etc. So, why such new model of the university is starting to be, we'll say, visible? Probably because it becomes very multi-stakeholder. University becomes multi-stakeholder company with a lot of different stakeholders with different interests. So university is placed within the system of complex needs of different stakeholders. University is serving society as a whole by reproducing culture, but at the same time this university should serve employers, because university should prepare and provide the skills to be employed for the students. At the same time, by preparing the people for industries, for employers, etc., the university is serving the state as the as a national state, as the, we'll say, main donor and sometimes sponsor of the university, and also someone who is, we'll say, supervising this market of industries, employers, etc. And but at the same time, university also should serve society as a whole, as a public good, etc. So it means that university becomes very market-oriented, because it should be oriented constantly on different needs and problem solving of very different social stakeholders. Employers would like to obtain students or alumni who are able to work in best, to produce best, to be excellent in terms of their job. So employees are waiting from the university good skills. The state is waiting from the university, we'll say, a contribution to the economic growth, for example, and which university can do, we'll say, not directly via their particular good skills implementation, good skills providing. Yeah? At the same time, industries are waiting from the university, particular, we'll say, practically oriented research which could help such industry to improve a particular fields of production, particular organization of production, organizational forms of production, etc., etc. And society as a whole should consider the university as a public good, which is something which is making society better, sustainable, because people which obtain in the university education has absolutely another, we'll say, way of life, way of culture, level of culture, etc., etc. So from this point of view, university becomes a very multi-stakeholder company, or corporation if you want. And of course, all these innovations are creating the new model of the education, which is rising during the second half of the 20th century. It's the so-called project-based education. Project-based education is oriented toward economic creativity mainly. So science should be used for means of the economy. So the idea of colonization of the science by the economy. And we have deal with the proliferation of technical universities, where technical skills, engineering schools, etc. becomes very important, because such technical skills are improving the research in order to make new devices, for example, for IT industry or new devices for telecommunication industry. So the education in such universities is oriented on practical solutions, case studies, etc., and initially has been implemented inside business schools. Business schools started from the middle of 20th century to use this project method of the education. And of course, education in this case is considered as a collective innovation, because a group of students are working on some innovative technology, inside this university, or group of students are creating a startup or innovative enterprise, which then will be separate from the university, or university acts as a core business for different spin-offs. So all these forms, we'll say, the idea to make the university creative in terms of economy, creative in terms of making new businesses, making new entrepreneurial ideas, etc., etc. Now let's analyze how we can apply the categories of culture and creative industries to the academic world. And first of all, we should stress that academic work could be considered as a creative work, just because it's realized personally by workers, by themselves. And mainly it is realized not under vertical hierarchical control, but under the horizontal collaboration based on networked relationship. So it's the idea that you should not constantly push, say, the people to work somehow. They are pushed by themselves, because it's not only the job for them, but also a kind of self-expression. So another important thing is that academic work is the production of immaterial goods with a high symbolic added value, and from this point of view, it could be considered as a creative work. And as we know, academia is considered as a very flexible regime of work, similar than in the lot of creative or cultural industries. It's a flexible work, sometimes very concentrated in particular periods of years. For example, the first half of the year you have courses and you have a lot of students, etc. And the second half of the year you have no. So, and you are much more oriented toward, say, conference participation or toward the creation of scientific texts. Some principles of cultural industries could be directly, say, applicable to the university, to the academic realm. First of all, as we know, in cultural industries, the use value is non-predictable and appears mainly after the consumption of the product. So it means that the marketing of demand is very difficult. I think then the complexity of the education result makes the education very similar for students. It means that, university use a particular marketing form in order to attract the students for the programs, but university can't guarantee how students will use this knowledge personally, just because the ability of people to use the particular knowledge is non-predictable in a particular way. Another thing is, of course, a particular system of risk curbing, which is used in creative industries, and I think that this quite similar model could be used in the university. applied to the university system. Yeah, especially, for example, such models of risk curbing as the catalog, for example, catalog of courses. Catalog of courses is historical form coming from the scholastic university. And the craft-based principle of creative work. It means that the main concepts of the cultural and creative goods are produced by a very narrow, we'll say, craft-based groups, and not massively. I think in education is the same. Education is mainly narrow group product. It means that they have quite narrow groups of creative person creating something, new course, some new program, etc., etc. Yes, of course, they have to approve this program on a committee, for example, but at the same time, they should, of course, they're elaborating the program, the project of this program by themselves in a very narrow groups, and this is a very similar. Let's take a look on risk strategies inside the academia and inside the cultural industries. First of all, first model of curbing the risk is the cost planning based on series of product, tube and catalog logics, and non-selling it piece by piece. I think that this principle of cultural industry could be completely applicable to the university. University prefer not to sell the courses separately, but to sell the curricula entirely. Yeah, because it's the possibility to curb some particular risks, of course. Another, it's the high margin prices, and I think that this strategy is also very used in universities, because, as we know, the difference of prices of the university admittment fee in different universities could be very, very different. The difference between one university and another university in terms of, well, say, fee could be very, very high, a few times high. So it means that some university, using their brands, using their good name, etc., are making a price with a high margin in order to be able to improve the curricula, in order to hire the best academics, etc., etc. Another strategy of curbing the risk is no salary-based remuneration for creative workers. Probably it's not completely employed by the university, but we will speak a little bit about the so-called academic contract, and we'll see some similarities. Academic contract is a form of making academic people, we'll say, free or independent in some way from the administration. So it's a kind of the same model than in creative industries, but in creative industries it's ensured, and especially cultural industries, this independence is ensured by non-salary based remuneration, so the so-called free market relationship based on royalties, project by project. In university, this independence is guaranteed by the long-term contract, even the life contract. Another is sharing the risk on the basis of specialized outsourcing. Of course, for instance, universities are not doing this the good manner, but we can see the rise actually of the new forms of the so-called networked education, when a part of curricula is ensured by one university and another by another university, and it could be, well, say, considered as the development and introducing of this particular form of the curbing the risks. Claiming state funding and support. And this is not only for cultural industries, it's not only could be applied to cultural industries, but also to the university, to the academia. System of star or starization. I think that universities is entirely responding to this condition. A lot of universities, we know in each discipline a particular professor stars in a particular universities who are considered to be best in their failed. Pilot projects. Pilot projects, when you are launching the project which is probably will be closed if it fails, and if it will say improve some result, demonstrating some particular objectives, this project could be a few times we'll say reinvested and finalized. So I think that this model is, for instance, is not very largely used in universities. And finally, the reproduction of successful forms, which is very important in cultural industries. When you are after the first film on Pirates of Caribbean, launching the second film about them. I think that the particular strategies or similar strategies we can observe in the universities, when the university are launching after one successful program another program based on the success of this one. So as we can see, a lot of risk strategies, the strategies of risk curbing coming from cultural industries could be applicable inside the university, inside the academia. And probably we will observe the rise of these models of risk curbing from the cultural industries in education in the coming years, just because of the, we'll say, appearance of new forms of the universities, innovations in universities, etc.